can speak. What? I got your gun.
While Star Trek has left an indelible mark on pop culture over the past 50 years, there are hidden gems behind the scenes that even the most die-hard fans might not know. In this video, we'll uncover 15 of the most surprising behind-the-scenes secrets that made the franchise what it is today. You'll soon see how many of Star Trek's iconic elements came about out of necessity, not design. Ready to dive deep into these astonishing discoveries? Let's get started. Among the many lesser-known details of Star Trek's original series, one in particular stands out: Montgomery, Scotty, Scott's missing finger. It's a subtle yet poignant detail that many casual viewers overlook, but it has a fascinating backstory. James Doohan, the Canadian actor who portrayed the beloved chief engineer Scotty, carried a significant war injury from his time in World War II. Before he became the Enterprise's miracle worker, Doohan served as a lieutenant in the Royal Canadian Artillery. On D-Day, June 6, 1944, during the Normandy landings, Doohan led his men across Juno Beach, only to be struck by 6 bullets, 4 in his leg, 1 through his chest, and 1 that took his right middle finger. The chest wound could have been fatal, but a silver cigarette case miraculously deflected the bullet, saving his life. Doohan's military heroism earned him commendations, but the injuries he sustained would remain with him throughout his life. So, how did Star Trek hide this on screen? The production team ingeniously concealed Doohan's missing finger. He often used his left hand for most actions, or kept his right hand partially closed. Camera angles were chosen to capture him from his left side during technical tasks in engineering, and for close-up shots, hand doubles were employed. Even the props were designed to ensure Scotty could perform his duties without revealing his full right hand. You thought you knew Star Trek inside and out, right? Well, stay tuned, because you might be surprised by what's hidden in plain sight. By the end of this video, you'll never look at the series the same way again. Take a close look at the elegant alien liquor containers used in Star Trek, and you might recognize something familiar: ordinary whiskey bottles. Yes, you heard that right. The creative prop masters of the original series turned everyday objects into extraordinary alien artifacts. And what's the secret behind these otherworldly vessels? The iconic Saurian brandy container is the prime example. It was actually a recycled 1964 George Dickel whiskey bottle, complete with a distinctive powder horn design. These unique bottles were cleverly repurposed, with a minimal amount of modification. While there were both lighter and darker glass versions used, the lighter brown bottles are considered the more screen accurate. The George Dickel bottle became so iconic that surviving authentic examples are now rare, making them highly sought after by both Star Trek fans and collectors alike. The 1964 bottles, still sealed and full, have become valuable treasures, with very few still in existence. This was just one example of the ingenious repurposing techniques used throughout the series. The production team frequently used everyday items to create futuristic props. Salt shakers became medical instruments for Dr. McCoy, household appliances were transformed into high-tech gadgets, and packaging materials were turned into control panels. Given the tight production schedules and modest budgets, these creative solutions allowed Star Trek to present a galaxy of alien technology without breaking the bank. Behind the scenes of Star Trek was a peculiar feud that few fans know about. William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy had a disagreement over the size of their names in the credits. This hidden clause in their contracts might seem trivial, but it offers a rare peek into the intricate dynamics between the two leading stars. What was this font size dispute all about? According to the contracts, Nimoy's name was to appear in the credits at no more than 75% of the size of Shatner's. This wasn't a random decision. It was the result of careful negotiations about their status on the show. From episode 4, The Naked Time, onwards, this agreement was strictly enforced. Even earlier episodes would be re-edited to ensure this credit size hierarchy was maintained. This font size dispute wasn't just about vanity. It reflected the complex dynamics between the two actors and their competition for status on the show. In fact, this contractual stipulation would extend beyond the original series, shaping their relationship during the Star Trek films. When Nimoy directed Star Trek IV, Shatner invoked this clause to demand a chance to direct himself. The attention to detail regarding credits stood in stark contrast to how casually other actors were treated. One production memo noted that DeForest Kelley, Dr. McCoy, had better credits than his contract required. This little-known feud over font sizes provides a fascinating glimpse into the behind-the-scenes negotiations that helped shape Star Trek's iconic cast. The visual effects sequences for Star Trek were filmed at the Howard Anderson Company between June and October of 1966, ultimately costing a modest $17,317. Despite the technical challenges involved, these effects prevented the Corbomite maneuver from being aired as the first episode of Star Trek. Yet, even with these hurdles, the ping-pong ball starship became an early testament to the franchise's creative problem-solving. Fast forward to 2006, when CBS Digital recreated the Fusarius as a CGI model for the remastered series. The visual effects team went to great lengths to remain faithful to the original design, while subtly enhancing the ship with details that, as Michael Okuda put it, probably should have been there from the start. Interestingly, fans have debated what exactly the surface of the Fusarius was made of. More recent analysis suggests that it might have been large acrylic dome shank buttons with smaller, golden ones at the junctions, or even pre-made costume jewelry, rather than the iconic ping-pong balls. Regardless, this resourceful approach to alien spacecraft design showcases the innovative spirit that allowed Star Trek to rise above its limited television budget. Star Trek fans are known for noticing every tiny detail. Or at least, we thought they were. But somehow, these sneaky moments flew under the radar. Stick with us, because the next discovery will leave you stunned. And trust us, number 1 on this list will completely blow your mind. Stay with us till the end, this surprise is worth the wait. The 10th item on our list. The infamous James R. Kirk tombstone error. One of the earliest continuity errors in Star Trek history appears on a tombstone that never should have existed. In the 3rd episode of the original series, Where No Man Has Gone Before, fans spotted a perplexing discrepancy that would spark debates for decades. So, how did this early episode mistake happen? The error occurs when Lieutenant Commander Gary Mitchell, who has gained godlike psychic powers after passing through the galactic barrier, creates a grave for Captain Kirk. The tombstone he carves reads, James R. Kirk. But here's the catch, throughout the entire series, Kirk's middle initial is T for Tiberius, not R. This tombstone inscription stands out as one of the most glaring continuity errors in early Star Trek. Along with other inconsistencies, like the different Starfleet uniforms featured in this episode, the error became a point of curiosity for fans. Interestingly, the error was never corrected in the episode itself. Even when the remastering process took place decades later, the visual effects team considered digitally altering the R to a T, but ultimately decided against it due to the extensive rotoscope work required. Instead, Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry himself provided an explanation. As DC Fontana recounts, Roddenberry's official response was simple. Gary Mitchell, with his godlike powers, might have made a mistake. This clever explanation preserved the continuity of the show while maintaining the integrity of the original filming, all without the need for special effects corrections. Now, let's talk about the rear projection starfield trick. While the Enterprise appeared to travel through an endless cosmos, the starfield behind Captain Kirk's ship was actually the product of clever visual trickery, an illusion that remained unnoticed by most viewers. The special effects team came up with unique methods to simulate space, and these techniques became defining elements of the original series' visual style. How did they pull it off? The team used an Oxbury optical printer to create the illusion of deep space travel. This specialized equipment, rare for its time, could perform 5:1 reductions through 4:1 enlargements with continuous automatic focusing. To craft a convincing starfield, artists painted white stars on a black background, measuring approximately 2.5 by 3 feet. The result? A seamless, believable cosmos that added to the series' immersive feel. The visual effects team then photographed this canvas and tracked it in multiple directions, left, right, up, and down, using different blackout mats for each pass. These movements were layered on top of one another at varying speeds to create the illusion of the Enterprise speeding through space faster than light. What started as a sky with about 500 stars quickly diminished to perhaps just 30 stars in each pass. For the stationary stars in the background, the team punched holes of different sizes through large sheets of black paper. These were then backed by special diffusion screens and color filters to achieve the right look. The magic happened when they combined these scenes, filmed at various camera distances and travel speeds, which created the illusion of depth. Why was this rare? This complex rear projection technique wasn't commonly used throughout the original series, mainly due to the labor-intensive process it required. Each starfield setup demanded meticulous preparation and multiple filming passes. The optical printing process itself was time-consuming, and a typical ship flyby could take an entire day to film, especially if there were explosions or moving lights involved. For multiple ships, this could extend to a full week. Next up is a hidden gem that many fans never noticed, the flipped Enterprise shot designed to hide Earth. If you've ever been watching Star Trek and thought the Enterprise was sailing through space backward, you weren't mistaken, at least, from certain camera angles. Ever noticed that the ship's registration numbers sometimes appear mirrored? It wasn't an accident. In television production, flipping footage served more than just a simple error. It was a cost-saving trick. Sometimes, the visual effects team would reverse the footage to avoid extra filming costs or to remove unwanted elements like Earth from the background of otherwise usable footage. By flipping the negative horizontally, the effects team could create new shots without filming them all over again, but this created a mirrored image of the Enterprise. Sharp-eyed fans spotted this by examining the registry numbers, which appeared backward in a number of episodes. In one case, as the Enterprise docks at a starbase, viewers can clearly see the mirrored NCC 1701 on the underside of the saucer section and the nacelle pylon. In another episode, the same mirrored effect appears. This subtle continuity error went unnoticed by most, but Trek enthusiasts immediately caught it. Now, moving on to a little-known detail about Starfleet's insignia. The iconic arrowhead emblem worn proudly on Captain Kirk's uniform may be one of the most recognized symbols in Star Trek, but it wasn't always a universal sign of Starfleet. Did you know that the arrowhead insignia specifically identified crew members aboard the USS Enterprise? In fact, throughout the original series, each ship had its own unique emblem. Take, for instance, the USS Exeter, whose crew wore an insignia with a circle and a spike passing through it, as seen in the Omega Glory. The Defiant, in the Tholian Web, had a hollow delta without the starburst background. Even engineers from starbases had a different spiral-shaped insignia, often going unnoticed by casual viewers. Gene Roddenberry's military background influenced these thoughtful details. He understood the importance of unit insignias, which is why each starship's crew had distinct symbols. When did the arrowhead become standard for all of Starfleet? After the success of the Enterprise's 5-year mission, Starfleet Command decided to honor Kirk and his crew by adopting their arrowhead as the emblem for all of Starfleet. This transition occurred between the original series and Star Trek, the motion picture, where suddenly, all Starfleet officers bore the arrowhead insignia. Interestingly, Star Trek, Enterprise, being a prequel, deliberately avoided the arrowhead and used a distinctive oval emblem instead, showing a thoughtful evolution of Starfleet insignias throughout the franchise. Now for a surprising twist, the Mayberry backlit reuse. Yes, Captain Kirk and Spock once walked the same streets as Sheriff Andy Taylor. 2 iconic Star Trek episodes used the very same backlit where the Andy Griffith Show filmed. This crossover between small-town Americana and futuristic science fiction highlights the resourcefulness of the Star Trek production team. Can you imagine Star Trek and the Andy Griffith Show sharing sets? The Mayberry set, famously home to the fictional town of Mayberry, North Carolina, was cleverly repurposed for alien landscapes and historical settings in Star Trek. In fact, Star Trek viewers saw the full height of Mayberry's buildings, which were usually framed to look like single-story structures on the Andy Griffith Show. Joan Collins, who guest-starred in Star Trek, recalled walking onto the same soundstage used for the Andy Griffith Show. This practical overlap illustrates how TV productions maximized limited resources, even across vastly different genres. Were there episodes where the Mayberry backlit was visible? Absolutely. In Miri, the Mayberry set was transformed into a ghost town inhabited by children. More prominently, in The City on the Edge of Forever, Mayberry became 1930s New York City when Kirk and Spock traveled back in time. Attentive fans might spot familiar landmarks, like Floyd's barbershop sign, in the background of these episodes. Additionally, recognizable structures like the Mayberry Hotel appear without the usual railings, and even the courthouse and Walker's drugstore pop up from different angles. This was all part of a clever budget-saving technique, one that showcased the production team's ingenuity in the face of financial constraints. The City on the Edge of Forever episode significantly exceeded its allocated budget, costing $245,316, far above the planned $191,000. As a result, director Joseph Pevney had to film at NBC's pre-established studios to help contain the rising costs. To keep the network executives happy, Pevney implemented a practical solution. He extended shooting sessions, filming continuously through the day and night. These pragmatic strategies allowed Star Trek to create diverse and rich worlds, even with a modest budget. But, despite all the behind-the-scenes ingenuity, there are still secrets in the Star Trek universe that even the most dedicated fans missed. And trust us, the final one on this list is so shocking that even the crew tried to hide it. Don't blink, this one is a jaw-dropper. Now, let's dive into number 5, the infamous GNDN pipes joke. If you've ever been on the USS Enterprise, you've probably noticed those mysterious pipes and conduits labeled with the letters GNDN. This seemingly random detail became one of the longest-running inside jokes in Star Trek history. But what does GNDN stand for? Simple: goes nowhere, does nothing. John Jeffries, one of the original set designers, revealed in an interview that all the pipes on the Enterprise had color codes and numbers. And one label in particular, GNDN, popped up consistently across the ship. These pipes weren't functional. They were purely decorative set pieces, an amusing way for the crew to entertain themselves during the demanding filming process. The GNDN pipes showed up all over the Enterprise, particularly in the engineering and corridor areas, where they contributed to the ship's complex, bustling interior. While these pipes served no actual purpose, they helped create a consistent and believable look for the ship. The set designers had a way of balancing the humor with the need for technical accuracy, as Dave Blass, a production designer, explained. "We want to make it accurate, but we also want it to be proper, even if we're sneaking in a little joke." This little gag turned into a Star Trek tradition. It even made its way into Deep Space Nine's 30th anniversary tribute episode, Trials and Tribulations, when the crew rebuilt the Enterprise sets. The GNDN pipes were included as a clever homage to the original series. However, there's some debate over whether these labels even existed in the original series. Some dedicated fans claim they've never spotted them in the original footage. Regardless of its true origin, the legacy of GNDN lives on in later Star Trek productions, where modern set designers continue to drop these little Easter eggs as nods to the franchise's roots. So, the next time you're watching Star Trek, keep an eye out for the GNDN pipes. They might just pop up. But it's not just the pipes that slip by unnoticed. Fans of the show may have missed a very intrusive guest star in Charlie X. No, it's not a new alien species. It's a boom microphone that accidentally made it into the final cut of the episode. This third episode of Star Trek's first season contains a few minor production errors that made it past the editing process. And while these errors were noticeable, they only seemed to add charm to the show. The boom mic makes its uninvited appearance during a pivotal scene where Charlie is presenting a gift to Yeoman Rand. The microphone is visible at the bottom of the screen, moving around as the characters speak. The mic remains in view for several shots in this scene, around the 6-minute mark of the episode, 0 hours 6 minutes and 48 seconds, offering an unintended but memorable cameo. This little mistake didn't ruin the episode. In fact, it's one of those charming quirks that has become part of Star Trek's long history. It's just another example of the scrappy, approach that helped make the original series so beloved. And sometimes, it's the mistakes that make the show feel even more special. The original Star Trek series, filmed on relatively confined sets, posed a persistent challenge for the production team when it came to keeping boom microphones out of frame. With multiple camera angles and the limitations of 1960s technology, avoiding such errors was difficult. Before modern editing capabilities, these mistakes often made their way into the final broadcast, adding an unintentional but charming element to the show. In Charlie X, this issue is particularly noticeable, as the wandering boom microphone becomes a memorable part of the episode. However, it wasn't just the mic that slipped through. The episode also contained several other production oversights that would have likely gone unnoticed by casual viewers but were spotted by eagle-eyed fans. For example, when Dr. McCoy examines Charlie, viewers can see floor marks where the actor should stand, with Charlie's mark being noticeably shorter than McCoy's, around 0 hours 4 minutes and 56 seconds. Similarly, when Uhura informs Kirk about Captain Ramart's communication, tape markers are visible behind her, marking where Charlie would stand after exiting the turbolift. Additionally, boom microphones often cast shadows overhead, a common sight in many early episodes, such as The Enemy Within. These minor oversights became endearing for Star Trek fans, contributing to the charm of the series. Far from detracting from the experience, these production glitches have become part of the show's lore. As one fan resource noted, spotting members of the crew on camera is a subgenre of the larger pantheon of flubs. Websites like Exastra Scientia even curate extensive galleries documenting these visual bloopers, turning them into a celebration of the show's scrappy, hardworking crew. Fans appreciate these moments because they serve as a reminder that behind the futuristic, polished appearance of Star Trek was a team of dedicated individuals working within tight constraints. Now, let's move to number 3 on our list. Visible set rigging in Where No Man Has Gone Before. This episode, second only to the pilot The Cage in terms of production challenges, features some fascinating behind-the-scenes elements that casual viewers might not notice. One of the most noticeable aspects of this episode is the visible set rigging, which becomes apparent in several key scenes. In particular, during the Delta Vega lithium cracking station scenes, the production team's shortcuts are revealed. As Gary Mitchell confronts Kirk in the station's control room, metal scaffold supports and lighting stands can be seen at the edges of the frame. These elements were never meant to be in view, but their presence serves as a reminder of the resourcefulness required to film a science fiction series on a modest budget. For Star Trek fans, spotting these behind-the-scenes artifacts has become part of the fun, adding another layer of appreciation for the work that went into creating the show. While these production hiccups might have been seen as errors at the time, today they are cherished moments in the Star Trek legacy. They remind viewers of the show's humble beginnings and the effort that went into bringing it to life, flaws and all. Would you like to keep exploring more of these hidden moments? The Star Trek original series is filled with iconic moments that fans continue to cherish, not only for their groundbreaking science fiction narratives but also for the charmingly imperfect production techniques that made the show feel so real despite its modest budget. In Where No Man Has Gone Before, viewers might spot various visible set rigging, lighting stands, scaffold supports, and electrical cables snaking across the floor during wide shots. These elements, while breaking immersion for contemporary viewers accustomed to seamless productions, were often overlooked by audiences of the 1960s. For many, these visible glitches only enhanced the appreciation for the crew's resourcefulness, as they showcased how groundbreaking the series was despite the technical limitations. In the Galileo 7, production glitches became apparent when the shuttlecraft set was exposed. Viewers could see the edge of the set and the backdrop in several scenes. Other issues, like the wobbling rock surface and styrofoam chips flying after a spear strike, gave fans a behind-the-scenes glimpse into 1960s television production. While these imperfections broke immersion, they highlighted the crew's ingenuity and added charm to the series. When Star Trek was remastered in the 2000s, the use of 35mm master prints instead of original negatives made widescreen conversions impossible. However, the remastering team carefully preserved the authenticity while improving visual quality, keeping these production glitches as part of the show's legacy. In Errand of Mercy, viewers spotted raw lumber beneath Spock during the Klingon attack, along with grey paint drips and visible active floor marks. These oversights, like the visible crash mat when Kirk is thrown into jail, became part of the series' minimalist aesthetic, focusing attention on the characters and story rather than the sets. Despite budget limitations, the production team's resourcefulness turned these challenges into a unique visual style, allowing Star Trek to create a universe that felt larger than its humble studio origins. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this peek behind the scenes, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. For more thrilling stories, check out the next video.